Hey, everybody. Welcome to Flip the Switch with Marla Schultz. I am your host, Marla, and today I am so thrilled to have my friend Jason Stuart on the show because I thought I was a multi-hyphenate, but this guy blows me out of the water. He is an actor, he is an author, a speaker, a comedian, a director, a writer, and he is known as that guy. Jason, welcome. Oh, and he's also my friend, and that's the best part. Jason, I'm so happy to see you. Thank you for coming on my show.
Thanks for asking me. I love the title, Flip the Switch. I just want to do it.
Yes. No, because we do this. Oops, this one. You know, the fact that we're comedians and your bio and your resume is so amazing, and also your story. You know, I love to interview comedians and figure out and hear what was it about humor and wanting to be a stand-up that has influenced and shaped your life and your trajectory.
Well, it's interesting. I never want to lie and say that I had this dream of being a comedian because I never did.
No?
Never wanted to be a comedian, never even thought about it until I was in my late teens, early 20s when I was trying to get acting work.
Mm-hmm.
And being a gay guy in the 80s, you know, nobody wanted to touch me. And then I remember I was doing some, cater waitering stuff at Osco's Comedy Cave, which was a disco.
Where was that?
It was on La Cienega and 3rd Street. It isn't there anymore. Now it's a Nordstrom's. But there was this big thing called Osco's Comedy Cave. It was below the Osco's Disco, where you would dance and meet chicks.
Oh, yeah?
And, everybody was wearing a wraparound dress. And
oh, I love the wraparound dresses. They were so flattering.
And I was wearing all these black pants. And I would go in there and I'd be a cater waiter for big parties. And then I'd go downstairs and I'd say, oh, they have Osco's Comedy Club. And I remember seeing my dear, dear friend who's passed, Tim Jones, and then Paul Rodriguez. I saw him.
Oh, sure.
Before he even did AKA Pablo. And I thought, God, this sounds like fun. And then I went to the Comedy Store and tried to do it. And I'd written, a monologue, like I was an actor pretending to be a comedian. I mean, that's what I was. It says, and I wrote about being a fat kid, and I wrote about stuff like that. It was just ridiculous.
What room did you audition, and was Missy Shore there?
Well, I wasn't an audition. The first thing I did in 81 was a class that Danny Mora and Robert Aguayo were teaching, and they ripped me apart so bad that I completely stopped. I said, I can't do this. I'm an actor, and I went, I was a serious actor. I started studying when I was 14 years old. I started doing theater when I was 8 or 9.
And you grew up in California, right?
Los Angeles, California. Yeah. Yeah. I was born in New York, and we're showing my ceiling. We don't want to do that. I was born in New York, and I was raised in Los Angeles from the time I was probably around 9 or 10 months old. And then I've been living in Los Angeles, probably my whole life until this last year when I moved.
Where'd you move to?
I live in Palm Springs.
I'm definitely coming to visit. The fact
this is the room you'll stay in if you do, right here. Right behind me in my office is a bed. Can you see it? Here.
That's fabulous. Listen, you've offered me your spare room before, and I've always, really, so sweet, and I love you for that. But the fact that you were born in New York, there's a Yiddish word called sechel, which is you got soul, you got the, you got the goods. So you've been indoctrinated. Like you can hang.
Well, I grew up with all New York Jews. I grew up with all New York. Oh, Jesus Christ! That's my office.
Hold all calls. Hold all calls.
Oh, it's they're calling me. What do I do? It's ringing. I can't get this stuff.
Turn off the ringer.
I don't know how to do it. Oh my God! Hold on.
Hello, you've reached an artist. Please leave your name and
it's my office number. Oh, they hung up.
Turn off the ringer.
I don't know how to do it. I'm in an interview right now. Can I call you back? Oh, they hung up. Well, they called on the other. No one. They're calling again. Jesus Christ.
You can turn the volume down. Is it a remote?
They're calling on the cell phone. They're calling on this. I'll call them back.
But were you funny growing up?
Oh, I was always a funny kid. Always a funny kid. The first time I think I realized I was funny, I had done a play called Santa Claus for President. And in that, I played this sort of jolly Santa, and I had this fat suit on. And I remember watching I Love Lucy, and I remember seeing her be pregnant. And I thought, God, that's funny. I'm going to steal that. And I pretended I was Lucille Ball pregnant the whole time I was in the show. And I got all these laughs. And Meyer Levine, the guy who had directed the play at Parks and Recs, where I did the play for them, said, you want to be an actor, don't you?
Aw.
Said, yeah. He said, you're hooked. I said, yeah, I am.
But I also read that Barbra Streisand influenced you, because it was Barbra Streisand that, I saw Funny Girl and I was like, oh my gosh, she's funny. I can't sing and she's Jewish. That gave me the faith. I'm like, you know what? I've always wanted to be a comic and I've always wanted to be an actress. And my humor, and I've talked about this before, is it helped me, blend in, being the only Jewish kid in this Catholic neighborhood, and, getting friends, no matter if, and I was a chubby kid too, but I was also known as a funny kid, but I always wanted to be a comedian.
I always wanted to be an actor. I never, in my day, comedy wasn't really a thing. It didn't happen until, because I'm a little older than you, comedy didn't really happen. And I never thought I could really do that. I didn't think I was funny in that way. I think I could do funny parts, but I never saw it. And then I had this manager, Catherine James, that thought I was funny, and I forced her to manage me, basically.
Really? How did you do that? Because, maybe people that are coming up and everybody always focuses on getting a manager. Like they think that's it. That's going to set them up. But how did you convince her?
I think that she had seen me do this funny scene from a play called Bad Habits. We played this husband and wife. This were sort of scathing. Me and this gal named Louise Diana, with a dash in between her name, like Anne Margaret. Right. And we had done this scene, and she made these outfits. And Marlene Stewart made our outfits. I remember she's become a big clothes costume designer. And it was very successful, the scene. And she saw the scene and she said, yeah, but you're so unusual. When you get older, you'll work. Now you're this or that or whatever. And I said, no, I'm sure that I'm right. You really should manage me. So she managed me. And then I started to work part-time in her office. And she said, you're so funny. You should be a comedian. And I said, I don't think I'm funny in that way. And I went to the Comedy Store. She got me an audition. I wrote my stand-up from what I had written before. I rewrote it. I put a bathroom scale around my neck. I don't remember what the joke was, but I made jokes about myself being a fat kid growing up. And I became a non-paid regular, showcasing regular, which is the worst that you could be to get in by the skin of your teeth. It took me like another 8 years to become a regular. And I followed Damon Wayans, who unbeknownst to me, was going to become a big star. And he got in immediately, and he gave me a part on his TV sitcom.
Oh, wow. How old were you when you first landed your first TV role?
I was 19. I did a show called Life and Times of Eddie Roberts. It was a nighttime comedy soap opera. And I got that role because I was going around, we were going to Passover dinner, my brother, and I didn't have a car at the time. And my brother picked me up and I said, can you drive me by this big building? I want to drop off a picture and resume to this agent before we go. He said, oh, okay. Then he went down to the Hamburger Hamlet. He was so impatient, he couldn't wait. And thank God.
They have really good brownie sundaes, or they did 10 years ago when I lived there. Was he discovered like Lana Turner?
No, I wish. And he spoke to this guy and he says, oh, what are you doing here? Well, my brother's an actor. He's going upstairs to drop off a picture and resume. He says, oh, I work for, my sister is Ann Ellis. I'm a producer. He used to do soap operas. And I kept in touch with him. And then he had told me about his sister, Ann Ellis, who was doing a nighttime sitcom called Life and Times of Eddie Roberts. I went in an audition, got the part. It was four scenes in a half-hour episode. I remember walking into the soundstage, in that little room where you go right before you get in, the sort of room before you open the door to the studio. And I was like, I couldn't breathe. I was so nervous. I was like choking. And I went in and did it. And Billy Barty was on the show. And
really? Well, it sounds like that you had a really easy introduction to
I didn't work for years after that. Oh. I quit community college. I thought, this is it. Finally, I got a little part on a Nickelodeon show playing the butler to a dog. And I did my first movie called the The Lost Emperor, not the last.
Okay, I was like, oh, wasn't that Steven Spielberg?
Wouldn't that be nice? That was Bertolucci. Yeah, that would have been nice in my career. I was in The Lost, which was starring Robert Tessier from The Longest Yard, and his eyebrows kept changing. That's how bad the budget was. They couldn't even remember. And I played gay dude number 1, and my first line in any movie was, "Give me back my purse."
Oh, that's funny. Because do you know Sean Polofsky? Because every time I see her, she always goes, "Give me back my dollar." Because I used to say I look like Rosie O'Donnell, and a homeless guy asked me for $1, and I gave him $1, and he goes, "Wow, anyone ever tell you look like Rosie O'Donnell?" I was like, "Really? Give me back my dollar." So every time I see her, I don't know, that just triggered me.
She's hysterical, very funny comedian.
She's going to be on the show.
Lately, I've gotten things where people would say I was sort of like a gay Don Rickles or Joan Rivers. I have that style of
comedy. You do. But have you had to alter your material at all since, COVID and cancel culture? I mean, how has that affected you?
I don't have a problem with the cancel culture thing of anything. I've never been that kind of comedian. Mm-hmm. The only thing I basically talk about myself. Mm-hmm. So in terms of, I've been doing a lot of the Zoom shows. I've done 10 or 15 of those, and I've done 3 parking lot shows.
How was that?
The first one I had done for RJ's Comedy Club, and they had 5 headliners or 6 headliners on. It was really scary. I hadn't been on the stage since March, and I did it last month in November. So that was sort of weird and crazy.
But do they honk when they like a joke?
This particular one, it was a smaller one. There was only I'd say around 30 cars, mm-hmm. and they honked and they hit cowbells. very, very disconcerting. Then I opened for Rob Schneider, the big movie star, and TV star from Saturday Night Live and Deuce Bigelow and all that stuff. And man, there were like 1 million cars, and it was really great. And he had an MC and everything. And it was really cool.
What was it like, though? I mean,
I loved it. They just honked there, but you could hear the front row. The sound is in their cars, and then there's a big screen where they can see you. So there's all sorts. It worked much better than just doing it without the screen. I think the screen really helped. About the whole thing was, for me, was about just doing your show and not have to worry about the laughs. So it was something very freeing about that.
Really? But yeah. I mean, but did you find that, where a joke goes and that there's an applause break or laughter? But the thing is, but I realize that, but how does it affect your pacing when you start hearing cars honking?
It's the same way that if I tell a story to you, or I've spent the last 9 months talking about my show Smothered in my book. So I've been doing Zoom interviews. So I've been doing jokes and kidding around. So I really was very comfortable with this, not having a lot of laughter. So when I just sort of zeroed in on that and went, okay, this is what, it's not going to be a lot of laughter. I'm just going to be talking. So 15 minutes of material is going to go in, like, for me who talks fast, in 30 minutes. So I'd have to slow down.
Right.
Talk to, I can't make fun of the audience. I make fun of their cars.
Well, that's funny. Not hearing the laughter, that was my anxiety when I first started doing stand-up. And I remember I was working with Stephen Rosenfield, and he started the American Comedy Institute. And I came up with Gaffigan and Greg Giraldo, and Sam Brown. And, we all Sunda, we all studied with him. And for like the first 2 years, because I was so anxious about doing stand-up, we would review the tapes, and he would say, "Do you hear the laughter?" And I said, "No." And he's like, "This is where you have to take a breath and pause and not just steamroll through your material." So it took me about 5 years being in therapy to be able to, pause and hear the laughter. But I just feel like doing one of these shows, the drive-in shows, I feel like it would set me back 5 years of therapy.
No, not for me. It's about listening. And I've always approached.
But how do you listen when they're honking?
Well, I've always approached stand-up in the same way I approach acting. The audience is my partner. Mm-hmm. So I sort of zone into communicating with them and telling the story. And in a sense, it's just more intimate. And even though there are all these people, there's like 1,000 people there or whatever in the cars, you just sort of talk to them. And that's what I saw. I'm an actor first. So that's where I I guess, zoned into that.
Right, but Jason, I mean, your acting has really, definitely added to your stand-up. I mean, you've been on so many TV
They feed each
shows.
other, yeah.
But no, it's great. Yeah, coming out in Hollywood, Gotham Comedy Club, Red Eye. I've done Red Eye. One Night Stand-Up, Wise Comics Unleashed. That was, I would say Comics Unleashed, doing that TV show is like doing stand-up at a drive-in.
Well, it's like you're doing stand-up for your friends.
Sure.
Because they
Sure.
wanted it very structured. They didn't want you to just talk. They wanted you to do actual bits.
Sure.
Yeah, and they set you up for it like on a talk show. Yeah.
Have you done any cruises? Are you into doing any?
I've done
stand-up
a number
cruises?
of cruises over the years. I've mostly done events. I've mostly done gay events on mainstream cruises. I've done a
Got
few
it.
of the gay cruises, but they seem to like the women better on most of those, or the more the girly guys, and I don't get those gigs as much.
Oh,
But I
wow.
don't really, I'm not a cruise person. I'm always
It's tough. It's
for the
tough.
eating, the drinking, the
Horrible.
sex, the shopping, the gambling. It's like a floating 12-step program.
And it is.
I prefer being at a resort. I like
Yeah.
to be able
Landlubber.
yeah, I'm not
Landlubber.
and the idea being, and then you have to go to a place, you have to rush out and do things, and then you have to come back, and there's a schedule, and you got to get to places. It's like, it feels like work. It doesn't feel like a job.
It's really
They
stressful. And
pressure you, yeah.
yes. And then they blow sunshine. They're like, oh, that was really great. And then your agent calls up and it was like, we need to review your material because you said ass in a kid show. I was like, why are they bringing kids to stand up anyway? It's just so weird. My favorite thing is when the parents drop the kids off, so they can go drink and gamble, and they put the kids right in the front row. I had a kid show up 3 times. 3 times. And I was like, where's your parents? And he's like, they went to go play, they gamble. I said, well, I am reporting them to Child Protective Services because this is not acceptable. Let's talk about that, Jason. I mean, I love the fact that you were in one of the most controversial films that came out in the last 2 years, Birth of a Nation.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Oh God, where do I start?
Start in the middle.
Make it to the middle. Yeah, that's my stand-up special. I wanted very much to be a prolific character actor, and around 2008 or 9, I had done my stand-up special, Making It to the Middle, and I thought, I'm basically done pursuing stand-up comedy in comedy clubs, and I started doing a lot of gay events in colleges and Jewish events, and I started headlining those kind of one-night jobs.
Was it where you had the thought and you took the steps to achieve your, what you wanted to do? Was that a big process for you? It's like putting it on a vision board. How long did it take for things to manifest?
I don't have a vision board, but I just decide, I go, if I'm not happy, and I was exhausted. I headlined comedy clubs for 25 years, and I was going out like 2 weeks a month,
I know what that's like.
10 months a year, basically. And it was a lot. I know some people have done even more, but I didn't want to do more than that. And I was exhausted, physically, emotionally. I wanted to find a boyfriend. I wanted to have a life. I wanted to be home. I missed everything. Events from family and friends, and I wanted to act more and have the time to pursue.
So what did you start doing? You come back home.
The first thing I did is I went back to class.
Okay. Who'd you study with?
I studied with Ivana Chubbuck and Howard Fine and
he's the most famous one. Everybody, that is anybody studied with Howard Fine.
I took a master class with oh my God, it's going out of my mind. He's from New York, Larry Moss. And I took.
So Larry Moss is in New York?
New York, he lives in New York, but he comes to LA 2 times a year. And I basically did his masterclass 4 times.
Wow. Should I take it?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
He's terrific.
Okay.
And then, so I started studying more, and I started getting more confidence, because for me, my trajectory came from first being this kid that just wanted to be in anything.
Right.
And I was a funny, goofy, awkward, crazy kid. And then I became a funny stand-up comic that was really kooky with the crazy hair and the leopard jackets and all the,
Liberace.
It's sort of the Liberace meets Prince, That's what I used to say. If Liberace and Prince would have a child, it would probably be me. And then I got tired of that. And then when I did Showtime Comedy Club Network, I remember I stopped. That was the last time I wore my costumes. And then I started being myself more. And that's when I came out on the Geraldo show in 1993. And then
what was that like? You're not glossing over that one. What was that like? And why the Geraldo show?
Because at the time, the three biggest shows on TV were Oprah, Donahue, and Geraldo, and it was not in that order. Donahue was the biggest, and Geraldo was second at the time, and Oprah was third.
Now, was this before or after Ellen?
Before 93. She came out in 96.
Oh, I thought she came out in 93. Okay. So.
And it was quite scary, but I didn't know what else to do in terms of moving my act along and people would talk about themselves and their lives, and I couldn't do that. And I had to make up a girlfriend and act like I was this crazy guy,
But Jason, why did you pick, how did it come about that you decided to come out on Geraldo?
I was in San Francisco. I was doing the Holy City Zoo. I was in a room that I was renting to do it. And Bill Clinton was on TV. And it was at the National Democratic Convention. He says, we need everybody's help. Blacks, Jews, gays, Asians, everyone. And I thought, did he just say gay? And I thought, wow, okay. So I didn't know that I could do that. And I remember years later, in 1995, I had done a comedy special that was sort of the first on Comedy Central. There were 3 of them. It was called Out There, one from LA, one from New York, and one from
I remember that.
San Francisco. And I had done that special. And I remember I was in the Los Angeles Gay Parade, and I was in a car, and it said on the car, Jason Stuart Out There from Comedy Central in the car.
Wow.
And I remember Leah Delaria had walked by, and she said, why did you wait so long to come out?
Hilarious.
For those that don't know, an actress, comedian, and singer, very talented.
She's on Orange is the New Black. She's hilarious. One of my favorite characters.
She was on there, yeah, for years. And I don't even know if she ever heard me after, because she walked away. But I remember thinking to myself, I took a beat and I went, well, I didn't know I could.
But the fact that you had gained so much confidence doing stand-up, do you feel that helped ease and give you the freedom to share on Geraldo? How did they find you? And then ask you.
First of all, no one finds you. Fax machine, and I got all the fax numbers to all the big TV shows, Sally Jesse, Oprah, Phil, whoever else was on, Jenny, and the shows that called back were Geraldo and Sally Jesse, and Geraldo was more well-known. Actor, comedian Jason Stuart is coming out and telling the world that he's gay, basically, and he's been on these shows, and he's decided to tell his truth, something like that. I don't remember, honestly.
Wow.
It was so, I remember going to New York, and I remember being so nervous. I remember they asked us to get other comedians to create the show, which was called Unconventional Comedians. And my friend Sheila Kay, who was my best friend, one of my closest friends, and I just got her on the show as a comedian who lost weight. We told them that she lost 50 pounds, but she really only lost 20. And we got her on the show. And
she's funny.
Oh, she's a terrific, very big cruise comedian.
Yeah.
Her and my other friend, Michelle Ballon, they were two.
Your friend, she's my friend too. I was going to try and get the 2 of you on at the same time, but I thought
nobody would be speaking.
Huh? Exactly. I wanted you to shine. Oh, yes.
It wouldn't shine. The 2 of us would be doing bits the whole time.
Right.
And anyway, so I did the show, and it really, literally changed my life.
How so? How did it influence your trajectory?
I spent the next, I'd say, 10, 15 years being the gay comedian. Mm-hmm. And I did my first guest star, which was on Drew Carey. And then I did My Wife and Kids. I recurred on that as the gay shrink. I played the gay guy on several sitcoms, Will and
Got
Grace.
it. But Jason, let me ask you, and I'm sorry for interrupting, because
how can you stop?
I know. I'm like, God, does this guy breathe, for fuck's sake? Take a breath. But you have so much information, and I love story, and I love, the trajectory. So you come out and you're studying and you have a vision of what you want to do, correct? And because
Well, I'll explain to you exactly what it is then. So what happens is I have an idea of who I am when I'm a teenager, and I don't exist. I am nowhere. And I don't know, and I don't get that I'm nowhere. I don't get that everybody knows that I'm gay. I don't get that, or that everybody would say to me in a joke. I don't get it completely. And I did have girlfriends, so I don't, I did have people that did think I was straight and would treat me that way, but I had no way of developing as a human being. I didn't know who I was. I didn't have a first date. I didn't have a prom. I didn't have a first wife. I didn't have all those things. And I knew when I had my first boyfriend who was with another man, when I was with him, I knew that's what I wanted. I didn't want to be, and I purposely did something terrible, like getting involved with a married person or someone in a relationship, because I wanted that to be hidden.
Right.
So I created this bad person, in a sense, that was doing things that were wrong, and I didn't know how to. Like most gay men my age, I didn't know how to be myself, and I couldn't say, "Hey, I'm a gay person. Give me work." I can do this. I didn't even know how I appeared to other people. And however I appeared, who I was, I didn't have this voice or this gravitas. This little boy, this teenager, this 20-something guy, is just trying to go for his dream. So I didn't know who I was. And I didn't know how to, I didn't know that what I was so wrong and so bad. And I couldn't even talk about it out loud. I couldn't even talk about it out loud because it was so, if I talked about it, that meant that I was. And if I was, that meant that everything was over. There was no window. There was no place. So I'll just get into this because it's on my mind. So last night I'm watching 60 Minutes and Viola Davis was on. And I'm not comparing my talent to hers by any means. She's brilliant, a gift of God. And she talked about being poor and coming from this, and that there were no Black women doing leading roles, or no Black women, doing things. And she wasn't pretty enough, she wasn't thin enough, she wasn't rich enough, everything. She was too Black, the color of her skin was too dark, everything she would say. But she could say to someone, "Hi, Marla, I can't get work because I'm Black."
Right.
I couldn't say I can't get work because I'm gay.
Right.
So it's in my I'm even at this age, I'm coming to a realization of how hard it was and how completely nuts I was to think that I could ever make a living doing this.
But you did.
But you still compare yourself to other people and you think, am I anywhere close to that kind of work? And I have pieces that I've done where I do feel that I have been able to strive. With The Birth of a Nation, this film that I have coming out through Reverie on the 18th of December, called Hank. It's a very sweet, small performance. My comedy series Smothered, that you can watch on Amazon. You should watch it. You go to smotheredtv.com and you watch 7 5-minute episodes. It's about this couple that have been together for 30 years who hate each other but can't afford to get divorced. So it's really fun.
And do you play a gay guy? Do you play the husband?
It's a gay couple, yeah.
Oh, nice. Congratulations. But Jason, that's
I hadn't
huge.
played a gay guy for a while. So in the last 2 years, I played 2 or 3 different gay parts, and said, hey, what do I really want? After going back to the original question about what happened in 2008, it wasn't that I really wanted to make people laugh, although I enjoy doing stand-up. It's done so well for me. It's been a gift. I would never have had the career I had without stand-up. Maybe I would have got.
It gave you the courage. Don't you find you make somebody laugh? And I talk about this. I'm a speaker, and I know you are a speaker as well.
I do a little.
But the thing is, you make somebody laugh, and it just is almost a virtual hug, because if somebody can laugh and relate to you, it kind of puts them at ease. It puts the audience at ease. It forms a connection.
I don't see it that way for me, because most people don't relate to me in that same way. Most people. So I.
How do you know?
Well, that's the way I have seen it. Maybe I'm wrong, but the way I do see it is it's my way to be a power. It's my powerful self, and I can control the room, and I can control and the.
But it's also protection. too. You
I
know, the
guess
fact
so.
that you were a young boy and you were coming up and you were so scared to reveal yourself. It's like a whole of a layer,
It
like
is, but I
George.
guess I see it even further than that stereotype from where it came from the beginning. As I've gotten older, I see it going even further from that
Mhm.
stereotype, which is part of who I am. You're right.
Yeah.
Of course, laughter is a wonderful thing, but I also see it as a way of it limited me in some respect
How
because
so?
because
Because
I
I
think
don't see it that way at all.
I think that I might not have done it if I had more confidence in if I hadn't been put down so much. Stand up was not something that I chose to do, though I do love it. It's like a lover. It's like a really sexy, hot lover.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes, and it's like I always do it. Acting is like a relationship most of the time. You have a
Yeah.
beginning, middle, and an end. Whereas stand up is like quick, hot sex. Sometimes it's incredible, and sometimes you go, "Oh God, why did I do it with that guy?"
I better go to the doctor. Am I pregnant? I hope I didn't get an STD. What?
Okay.
You know what? When you say power, you know, the fact that you had the balls, like, you know, I
It
was
wasn't
bullied.
that though for me. It was
That's so,
complete. It was not balls. It was complete desperation
oh
to
my
be.
God, I don't see
To
it that
be
way, but
seen.
I don't mean to,
No, no, I know.
fill in
It's
the
just very different.
blanks.
It's very different, and I love being a stand-up. I am a stand-up. I'm very proud of it. I love the craft of it. I've been doing it for 30, I think, 8 years. You know,
Wow. Can you
and
believe 38 years?
oh yeah, it's like it's a lifetime, and
I'm over 25 years. That freaks me out.
I'm proud of it.
You
I don't,
should
I
be.
don't mean to put it down in any way, but it wasn't. I didn't go after it in the same way that I wanted to be an actor. It wasn't something that I couldn't live without. But though I have to
Understood.
say, during COVID, I realized that I did miss it when I got on stage working with Rob Schneider and being there with a full audience of, 1,000 people and a couple hundred cars. I just went, man, I,
See?
lo- I do love this. I don't think I could give it up forever, but I don't think I need it as much as I used to need it.
The power that stand-ups hold and the confidence, regardless. Like I was always very insecure. I would get on, oh my God, was that funny? Did they laugh? And meanwhile, I was getting applause breaks, and I'm not blowing sunshine, and I know I'm a good comic, but I just remember it was
Well,
so,
the fear is unbelievable
oh
sometimes.
no, it's choking, and it can, that's what causes
It
people
is with
to
acting.
eat, drink,
It is with
fuck,
it is
suck.
it is with acting too. You have to
Right,
be on the set in front of 100 people doing something and just block everything out. And
right. It's
and without
terrifying.
and the problem with acting is that you don't have the 10,000 hours that we have as comedians. I think I'm
Correct.
getting there as an actor. I just did an episode of Goliath. And Billy Bob Thornton wasn't in my scene. It's Bruce Dern, 2 Oscar nominations.
Nice.
J.K. Simmons, Oscar winner. Haley Joe Osment, Oscar nomination for The
He's
Sixth
still
Sense.
working?
Sixth Sense. Oh, all the time. He's recurring on that show. He works all the time
Okay.
with those kind of people. And I thought, okay, this is where I am. And I'm so lucky. And then I talked to this manager, and I felt so grateful and so blessed and so humbled to be able to have that opportunity, as that I have to be the one of the people that opened for Rob Schneider in a drive-in. How many people want that job?
Letting it go, I make jokes about it, but I know we've both done, a lot of work on ourselves, and we've chatted about that. And I find that as a performer, it's really important to get to know your insides, because I know my stand-up was my shield. And I think that's what I was just trying to allude to, that I was fragile, I was vulnerable. That was never encouraged growing up, to be vulnerable. And I put on this tough, like, fuck you, I'm so tough, I'll kick your ass, like modeling myself after the hitter chicks in Huntington. We had the freaky girls, they were all into, Charlie Daniels and drinking kegs and smoking weed. And then we had the hitter chicks that, wore Xena and Jordache and listened to, Donna Summer and
You
all
were
that
10
stuff.
times more in than me than anything. I was so by myself and everything. I was just walking around like this. I remember, I just wanted to, I had my eye on the prize, and that's all I
That's
did.
awesome.
No,
But
I know, but I never ever thought I was part of any group or trying to get people. I just didn't know. I just wanted to work, and I wanted to do that. And then when I was watching Viola Davis again, I say, you just remember and you think, God, there were people that held her up. There was one time when she was nominated for Doubt for supporting actress, and Meryl Streep was at one of the award shows. I mean, certainly this is so heady and up there, but she said she said, "This gal is great in this film. Somebody get her a movie to star in." And she said that right on the show, and then they showed that clip on the show, and that's what it is. It's the idea that somebody stands and raises you up. And Nate Parker, who cast me in Birth of a Nation, I remember I was sitting in his office in Savannah, Georgia, in a chair like this. And I said to him, he went to go grab the script. And when he did, I said to him, "Thank you so much for, hiring me." And then he turned, he said, "No, thank you."
There you go.
Then he went back to the script and I almost fell apart,
Oh. But Jason, why don't you just explain why this film was so controversial?
Well, I'll explain to you why it meant so much to me, which is much more important to me.
That wasn't the question.
I know. I don't.
That wasn't the question.
I don't even care about all that anymore, because
Okay.
that's the part that, the part is about the film is about Black abolitionist Nat Turner. And it's about the man who was the first Black man to fight against the white slave owners. I was one of three of them. It was Haley Joe
Osment?
No, the other one from Bad News Bears, Haley Joe. Oh God, I'm getting his name mixed up.
It'll come back to you after we wrap the interview, because that always happens.
Jason Warner Smith and myself, and there were three of us, and one was rape, one was murder, and one was torture, and I was rape. So it's a very heavy film.
But what was the movie about? Can you just...
The movie, that was what the movie was about
Okay.
Black abolitionist fighting. It's about the life story of Nat Turner. It's something that I've always wanted to do, is just to be in a movie that makes people go into the dark, watch something, and change how they feel about a certain story. It was also a film that was done from the Black point of view rather than a white person telling the story.
But it was originally done in, what was it, 1915?
No, that's
Birth of a Nation.
It has nothing to do with that film. It just that film is about the first film is a completely different film. It was done by a different director and a different thing. People have asked me, "Were you in that film?" I said, "Yeah, I'd be over 100 years old." But that film, what Nate did is he took back that title.
Oh, okay.
It's really about Nat Turner and people like him. It's not about a white guy saying that the slaves really, it was okay. It wasn't that bad being a slave, and they helped us out. It was, in that film, caused, I don't know how many people at that time to join the Ku Klux Klan again, when the Ku Klux Klan was going out of business.
No, wait, are we talking about the one that you did, or the D.W. Griffin?
The D.W. Griffith film, yes. A lot of people mix that up and think it's a remake. It isn't. It's about something, it's the same subject matter, but it's about a different person and a different thing. It's about taking that title back and saying the Birth of a Nation is really us. We built us meaning Black people. They built the White House. We stand on the backs of these people, and our lives are the way they are because of what they have done for this country, and have not the credit nor the money for it. So it was something that that meant a lot to me as a human, to be a part of this and to tell this story.
Yeah.
And when I was on the red carpet, people would ask me all the time, "What do you feel? How do you feel about playing this part?" I said, number one, to be a part of telling this story and being a villain, it's a gift of God for me that this would happen to somebody like me, a gay Jewish liberal guy playing a white heterosexual Christian plantation owner in 1831. And the idea that
living in Palm Springs.
Yeah, that I would even, it was Los Angeles, somebody, Hollywood, but the point of me getting that part is just insane. At that point in my career, that I would be, gifted with that. And the other thing was, she kept saying, "Well, what do you feel? What do you feel?" I said, "I don't feel that I have that." I said, "This is what I do: is I take off my shoes, I put on the shoes of my Black brothers and sisters, and I just shut the fuck up and listen, because people need to be heard. It doesn't matter what I think or feel."
Right.
It changed me as a human, and learning what privilege was and white privilege was, and learning that I am so lucky and so blessed. And I'm sitting in this beautiful apartment talking to another person who's in her beautiful apartment with her gorgeous husband, who's a lawyer, me living next door to my 83-year-old mom, having incredible friends, and having the life that I have because of my privilege, and to know that. And know that I have to give back, and that I have to be quiet and listen, and my opinion does not matter.
Amen.
And that's what I want to do as an artist. So getting this movie meant so much to me. And of course, all the drama that went around with it, that really doesn't mean anything to me because it's none of my business. It's just what happened. Certainly it was sad because the film would have got a much bigger audience and would have won Oscars and all that kind of stuff. And it was another thing that when I was watching the Viola Davis thing, I think, God, there's always something that stopped me from going to that place. There's always something. And that's life on life's terms. Sometimes is it me doing it? Is it something that I, why did it happen to me? And I don't know. I mean, there's I have so many other stories like that. My book, Shut Up, I'm Talking, available at Amazon.
Thank you. So now, when did you write this book? Because we got to wrap up, and I want to leave them with.
Yeah, I wrote this book I wrote this in 2018, and I wrote it with this wonderful guy, Dan Duff. What's your book called?
Oh, it's got 15 titles, but it's not about me. It's about you, Jason. It's about you, who I love. So tell everybody, where can they follow you?
JasonStuart.com, STUART, right there.
Okay.
You can watch my new series on Amazon. Go to smotheredtv.com or just go to my website, jasonstewart.com, and click on Smothered. You can see it on YouTube, Amazon, Reverie, Roku, Samsung, Android.
Hibachi.
Yeah, Hibachi. Right.
Tesla, Bing, Ding, all the Tubi.
Is that
on Tubi? Yeah, Tubi.
I'm on the Jewish channel. It's people that just watch too much TV. It's too much.
Gosh, I'm so thrilled, and you really have created quite the career and quite the life for yourself. And give your mom a hug and a kiss for me.
Well, tell somebody. Watch my show and tell me what you think. I didn't know you didn't know about it.
That's Smothered on Amazon. Okay.
SmotheredTV.com. Yes.
Jason, let's blow a kiss. Mwah. One more. Mwah. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.